Alpha Geek Radio, which I haven't been doing. Do you know what channel we go live on Alpha Geek Radio?
Yeah, I don't know.
You gotta
I don't
go.
even know what an Alpha Geek Radio is.
Mm-mm-mm. All right. I think we're like 3 or something on there. All right, whatever. We're live right now. I'm going to do a quick lap, make sure we're ready to go.
Okay, so we're live here right now.
Hey,
The people,
got to give the people what they want.
yeah. So, Justin, what's new with you,
Not a whole lot, Andrew.
dude?
We're having a great time here at Weird Things headquarters.
Yes. Speaking of weird things, has anything weird happened to you?
Um, I uh, I I have a bird
That's weird.
fly around from town to town.
Bird's fine. It's weird, man. It's off to a great start.
This is why we're the nation's favorite podcast.
So, speaking of weird, I watched Anchorman 2, by the way.
Um, all right. I want to hear your opinion that you will say on the air about Anchorman 2.
My opinion is so they have on Netflix, they have Anchorman 2, and then they have Anchorman 2, the unrated version of like 734 new jokes.
Yeah.
So, first is the debate, which version do I watch first?
Sure.
I'm like, um, I don't. If they're selling the second one with more jokes,
Well, it's different. It's different versions of
yeah,
the first movie's jokes, right?
yeah. I guess, and you know, it is. It's fascinating because I watched that the same time period I watched This Is the End.
Yeah.
And This Is the End was something that I was prepared to not really be that into. I like all the characters. I liked all the actors, individually and sort of their different stuff. I think some of them have played the same roles over and over again. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would.
Which that movie did a very good job of playing into.
Mhm.
Of how typecast they are and how they typecast themselves a little bit and playing that against. I thought This Is the End, I thought was like a world building rewrite away from being Ghostbusters. Like I thought it was like really, 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 really funny. And if there was just a little bit more why they have to get to this to do that and
Mhm.
what the rules of the demonic element was, I feel
Yeah.
like it would have been transcendent.
No, I agree. I think that This Is the End. The I thought they had character arcs were really well done. I
Yeah.
thought that they were, where they are at the beginning, where they are at the end. I thought that was much more well done than I thought it would be. And I agree with you. I think if there was a bigger objective that got them out of Franco's house, it could have had even a bigger, plot. That being said, it was like I said, man, I enjoy this more. I was expecting just versus like I think the problem with Anchorman was kind of like, hey, we'll go show up and we'll see what kind of fun happens. And so much of the Anchorman 2 plot was just driven by here's a scene, here's all the crazy things that can come out of our mouths. We'll choose the best, and we'll have a movie. And it
Yeah.
wasn't, you know, you know,
I sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So in comedy, one of the things they teach you is like, like an improv is don't try to make your character really silly. Don't create a silly character that just does silly things because the audience won't relate and you have a disconnect. And Will Ferrell is a guy that often does that, but again, if there's enough relatability, it's fun. But you watch at the start of Anchorman and they're doing their funny Anchorman voices and stuff, or their warm ups, and you're like, oh man, I'm just going to be watching a whole movie of people just acting silly and unrealistic. Which
Yeah.
What did I miss? What just?
Anchorman 2.
Oh, okay. I
Here's the
never
thing
saw
with
it.
Anchorman 2. I have been personally fairly disappointed with Adam McKay's stuff since Ricky Bobby. And I think part of it is when his and Will Ferrell's writing turned very mean
Only
towards
one
certain
of them.
Yeah.
elements. Like it kind of lost the punch for me. And there's a point halfway through Anchorman 2 when it gets vintage, awesome Ferrell McKay, super weird in Lighthouse for anybody who has seen it.
Yeah.
And when it's that, I love it. It's why I think they are very, very special writers, because they can do a brand of bizarre that is unique and interesting to me. But when it's a Huffington Post takedown of Rupert Murdoch, it's like, it's just not really all that interesting. Like I don't. That is the least interesting element of what they do, and I found that it was unfortunately more the campaign than it was Anchorman. That's what annoyed me.
Yeah, I was saying, Brian, that like I enjoyed This Is the End much more than I thought I would.
Hey, so apparently nobody watching right now has ops for the DC TV channel.
I got it.
You got it?
Got it.
Awesome.
I don't even know what those words mean, guys.
They're highly scientific, technical words.
So I was telling Justin, I'm driving to go grab my lunch, coming the opposite way down Hollywood Way. I see this big billowing cloud of smoke and this jalopy, this car from the year 2 that looks like one of the Wacky Racers. Right? And
Yeah.
cars are trying to work their way around it, and the car's going like 2 miles an hour. Who do you think's driving it?
You. Will Ferrell.
Jay Leno.
Wait, really?
He's got, like, I think it's over by Burbank Airport. He's got like a big whole, hangar filled with his old cars and stuff. And so
Sure.
he takes them out. But it was just funny. Like, you see this wacky racer style car. And, he's driving it with some guy next to him.
That's amazing.
Like, I love this town. I love this town. When the crazy old guy who's like slowing down traffic with his old car is Jay Leno.
That's awesome. Okie dokie. Well, I guess theoretically, are we live now?
Yeah. No, we're on diamondclub.tv.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There you go. Live now for the
So
weird-
I got back to the Open ROV guy a little bit too late. So we'll try to schedule something maybe next Sunday or so.
Okay.
It's on me. My fault.
Get my notes up so we can take notes on this.
Yeah. Dang right.
Hey, I watched it again yesterday. Star Wars trailer, still awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Skibbity baby.
and I spoke to somebody who saw Fury Road.
What's that?
What?
Spoke to somebody who saw Fury Road.
What is Fury Road?
The new Mad Max movie.
Oh shoot! What?
That trailer, though?
So do you wanna
I
hear
actually
it?
did not see the trailer. I saw the previous footage that they had released like at San Diego Comic-Con, I want to say it came out.
Dude, that trailer is
Brian should watch the trailer right now so we can have a discussion.
Okay, all right, let's do that.
top pile in your pants. Get ready.
Mad Max trailer. Is that what I'm searching for?
Yup.
Fury Road. This is the official teaser trailer.
This ain't a teaser.
My world is fire and blood.
Everything is dependent on
We
oil.
are killing for gasoline.
The world is almost out of water. Water.
Now there's the water wars.
Here they come again. Everybody's gone out of their mind. You're not the only one, Max.
Out here, everything hurts. You want to get through this? Do as I say. Now pick up what you can and run.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Hey, what's your name?
Holy shit. Man, it's like there are so many elements of this like it's unironically embracing the things that made a Clockwork Orange great. Like 70s sci-fi is alive and well in this this fusion of violence and classical music and iconic imagery. Wow, dude, that looks amazing.
So, like I said, talked to somebody who saw an advanced screening of it. And by the way, I like people in the chat room. Oh, Borderlands the movie or Twisted Metal. Guys,
All
where
of
do you
those-
think they got that from?
Yeah, exactly, dude. Those are the grandchildren. You're allowed to eat your own grandchildren, for the record.
Exactly. So, because like I saw that trailer, I'm like, listen, the trailer looks awesome, but I love the Terminator Salvation trailer, right? Because and boy, anyhow, so like my concern, like, man, did we just like see everything, the whole movie, whatever? So I talked to a guy, and he's like, oh, I saw it. I saw an advanced screen. I'm like, really? I said, so like, was everything kind of in the trailer, kind of the movie? And he's like, oh no, that's just a fraction. I said, how was it? He says it's insane. He says it's like just a nonstop crazy. He says he can't think of any movie like it. He says it's just balls to the wall all the way through like that.
Oh, that's great.
He said it was great. He said it was just absolutely just bad crap.
I'd read early stuff about the script that it was basically an hour and a half chase scene in the best possible ways.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, let's test our levels. Hey, this is Brian talking. I'm hitting -6. How about you, Andrew?
Hi, this is Andrew, and I'm talking, and I don't know what I'm hitting.
You're hitting -6. Justin!
Yeah, this is me. I'm talking. I am hitting somewhere below -6.
Right, you are. All right, and we're good. Boop, boop, boop. All right, ready to go, gents. Ready?
Why are your hands up? Why are your hands in front of your face? I can't see what you're doing, Brian. Brian, your hands in front of you. Why are you counting down with fingers, Brian? Why are you pointing at him? It's not nice to point. Oh,
All
hey.
right, hold on. Let me kill it.
I was-
I hit record like halfway through your sentence. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Hello, beautiful people. I just had my mind blowed out the back of my skull by the Mad Max trailer.
And Justin Robert Young.
Hola, friends. My name is Justin Young.
So, yeah, we just watched the Mad Max Fury Road trailer. It looks really exciting, so hope it lives up to it.
It looks positively iconic. And
Yeah.
right beforehand, I was saying like the fusion of the unironic, over-the-top violence imagery with classical music just instantly took me back to A Clockwork Orange or the golden age of science fiction in the 1970s. It looks great. I mean, there's still plenty of ways to screw things up, but everything I saw made me very, very happy.
So, gentlemen, let's talk about a couple cool things. So I've got a couple kind of newsy sort of things, and one of the newsy things is going to lead into a philosophical discussion. Now, first off, you're probably going to go like, Andrew, why aren't you here and on your way? Why aren't you on your way to the airport to go watch the SpaceX launch?
Oh yeah, Andrew, why aren't you on your way to the airport to go to the SpaceX launch?
Yeah, Andrew, weren't you supposed to be on your way to the airport to watch the SpaceX launch?
Hey,
Yeah,
Andrew,
postponed.
SpaceX is about to go launch. You got to get on the airplane so you can go to the
postponed.
airport in Florida.
It was postponed. It's postponed to later this week.
All right.
So it was.
Mystery solved. Chalk another one up for
Yeah.
Spiro and the Fudge.
And I won't be able to go. So
Wait, what?
You're not? What?
can't go. I have something scheduled later this week, so I can't go.
Who is she? She hot?
Is she going to make your rocket launch?
Is she?
Yeah, as I have important meetings I have to attend.
Your payload?
I can't. This is like yeah, so it's like meetings and stuff.
Are
So-
you for sure going to dock with her station, or is that just something that, weather permitting, might happen?
guys? This is like I have an empire I'm trying to run here. And part of this empire means making sacrifices and stuff.
Well, we appreciate that you have made the sacrifices that you made so far. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's what I do. It's what I do. So anyhow, gentlemen, so I want to talk about some really cool, big, sciencey kind of stuff. And just a really quick update. We spoke to the Open ROV people, and we were going to have one of them on today, but I waited till last night to call back, to send an email back with, hey, here's the time. So hopefully maybe in the next episode we'll be able to bring him in. So that's all on me. They reached out to us. We're talking about doing our own underwater robot. And I had a great conversation with David, who's in charge of the guy running the whole Open ROV project. If you go to openrov.com, you'll find out about what that's about. And then if you go to openexplore.com, you can see where people are creating their own projects, their own sort of explorations using underwater robotics. And what we'll probably do with weird things is have people make proposals on openexplore.com, and from there,
Open Explorer doesn't appear to be a thing unless it's spelled.
that's Open Explorer. Let's try Open Explorer.
Oh, Explorer. Got it. On it, boss. Look at that. OpenExplorer.com is opening up right now.
And then on the flip side, thank you for everybody who emailed in. We got some really, really awesome suggestions of where
Oh my God.
drop these things.
We have Justin. Do you want to tell them about a couple of them? I'll give you a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we're doing is we've been looking for somebody who wants to sort of be the admiral of our fleet and dispatch out our underwater robot when we have some sort of investigation. And what we would do is maybe send it to somebody for like a week to do that. If we use openexplorer.com, what'll be cool is there are other people who might have some expertise that can help out. We're looking to create kind of like cool team explorations. And so we want somebody to help us on our end administratively sort of supervise the shipping out of the robot and make sure that we get it back. If you go to openexplorer.com, you can see some of the really cool things they're doing from, this whole project started, and David will get into it when he's on the show, talking about wanting to go investigate like a cave in the San Francisco area, an underwater cave. But we've had some really awesome things, and we could perhaps go there to, we'll see about using Open Explorer as a way to make the suggestions for what we want to do. And we just want to, you don't have to find something. It could just be something cool to investigate or to look into. And
So we got one in that we really, really liked. This one came in from Billy in North Carolina. There's apparently a World War II bomber in a lake 20 minutes from his house. Divers went down years ago and said they would never go back because of giant catfish, huge enough to scare experienced divers. So he is an experienced fisherman. Would really, really like the opportunity to drop one of these drones in here and then go explore this plane that apparently, by all accounts, is in there. And I'm going to go ahead and say it's haunted.
Holy cow. There's an investigation just south of my location in Austin, Texas, in Wimberley, Texas, where they're investigating Jacob's Well in Wimberley, Texas. I am calling up the details here. We're building the ROV to explore the underwater caves in Jacob's Well, a karst spring formation in Wimberley, Texas. Human divers have perished in the caves here, so we're hoping to send the robot down to map the caves and explore them safely. How cool.
so that's just awesome. And it's really cool. So the Open ROV, they've got like a grant from the Moore Foundation to help encourage more of the sort of citizen science. And it's a great, I hate the term citizen science, but until we have a better name, we'll use that. So it's a really cool kind of way to, get that out there. So this is a real thing for us now. We're committed.
Dude.
And by the way, the enthusiasm, I'm looking through everything that came into my email under weird things, and the enthusiasm for this even outstrips maybe the understanding of what we were looking for. We got a couple people that were like, yeah, I got a truck. I can bring it wherever you need. Go. I got a truck. And I'm like, well, where would you want to drop it and explore? And he's like, I don't know.
You tell me, bro.
You tell me, bro. I'm bringing the
That's
truck.
amazing.
But that just means people are so into it, and that's really what we want. I would rather have 9 of the We Got a Truck guys, and more people who are really, really into it. So go ahead, find some mysterious lakes and bodies of water around where you are, and we're gonna make this happen. We are committed to making this happen, and if this succeed, this is really our trial. We're gonna try and make this happen and make it as big and awesome as possible. And then if this works, the future of Weird Things Investigates, our expedition service is off and running.
Dude, it's amazing. Like, I could just picture 2 years from now, we get a phone call from Hollywood. They're like, we understand you guys have been in charge of a number of high-profile investigations into the paranormal and weird. And we're like, we can neither confirm nor deny the existence of our air fleet, nor our space fleet, nor our undersea fleet. We are Weird Things.
Or those discussions have already taken place, right?
Amazing.
So,
all right.
Gentlemen, speaking of really cool things that are kind of out there, a while ago, Google, you may have heard of it, little sparky startup somewhere in California.
The G-Dogs. That's how they prefer you call them.
Ah, yeah. They the G-Dogs.
The
G-Dogs, Google realized, like, hey, listen, it's great? People on the internet. You know what's not so great? People not on the internet.
Man, typical G-Dog behavior. They're all like, "What's up, meat Spacey?" They're like, "I'm sorry, sir. What are you talking about?" You're like, "Oh no, I'm sorry. I can't hear you over the sound of all of your biological processes happening in real time here in the physical world."
I loved you in 7, meat Spacey.
So like Google's like, hey, there's a big part of the world that like can't get on the internet because like in places where they don't even have running water, internet access isn't, maybe the top of the list. So they were looking for innovative ways to get people online. And one of the things they thought about, and it was an approach, they have this kind of a Mad Labs where they kind of Google X, where they come up with like crazy kind of projects. And one of these is the idea of using balloons, high altitude balloons, to carry internet. You put a balloon up, let's say at 100,000 feet, and you put a big Wi-Fi thing on there, and you float this thing up, maybe float it up for 30 days. And for 30 days, this thing can provide, and it can go back and forth and raise and lower itself through the jet stream. And so it can kind of keep in position, or you can kind of move it around because you have layers going one way, layers moving another. And if you have those well tracked, you can keep this thing kind of over sort of one sort of region.
This is their Project Loon, is that
Project
right?
Loon,
yeah,
right?
Right on.
So when they launched this project, this is a great thing that came from M.G. Siegler on his Paris Lemon blog. When they first launched it, there was an article in Wired magazine where Stephen Levy, a great writer, talked to one of the pioneering balloonists about this project. This was the guy that worked with Richard Branson on a number of his balloon projects. This is a guy who's...
Did Richard Branson, by the way, make it all the way around the world in a balloon? That was one of his pursuits for a little while, right?
Yeah. And so they spoke to... So Levy spoke to... let me get the name of the guy. Spoke to one of these experts. Says, so what do you think about this? What do you think about this plan to do that? And I'm going to find this. The quote was, Peter Lundstrad, known for his highly publicized forays with entrepreneur Richard Branson. So Google said that they wanted to try to keep this thing up, try to break 100 days.
Sure. And this is in relatively the same area, give or take.
Yeah. Landstrad said, well, even keep it up in the air. No, just keep it up in the air 100 days, right? Landstrad said, Lindstrad said, absolutely impossible. Just talk to anybody in the scientific community. Even 3 weeks is very rare. So this is just impossible. They're not going to be able to do that.
And of course, at this point, Google said, impossible, you say? Well, we best not even bother to try.
Yeah, you
Good
know what?
job, G-Dogs. Let's
They
go.
said-
G-Dogs, the keg is open. And they
Best
gave
NASA
up.
did was 55 days. This guy says it's impossible. You're not gonna beat 30 days even then. So they're like, yeah, Google's like, all right, we give up. We give up. We're done.
Did
They
they?
shut the thing down.
No, they didn't. There's no
In
way.
an alternate reality, when you hear people say that and you say, well, you must be right, what's the point of daring to dream?
Yep.
So I'm guessing that they did not accept that answer of what was
So
possible.
the guy said they wouldn't be able to do 30 days. They did 34 days.
Right on.
Plus 134
Oh,
days.
shoot. That's amazing.
I'm not good at math, but I'll say 134 is almost half a year.
I'm going to say it's almost double 34 days, the original lowest.
So they have now kept one of these Wi-Fi transponding balloons aloft for 134 days.
That's huge. And is that that's all just efficiency of information? That's all just knowing what part of the atmosphere to be in any given time.
So a part of it is there are two problems that go into it. One is a materials problem. You want to have a material that keeps your helium inside of there for as long as possible. So there's a materials problem. And then there's an information problem. There's that when to rise, when to lower, how to keep this thing at the right position, how to get it up when it needs to go high, how to keep it go low. And so you have a lot of data points. And Google has money to solve materials problem, and they have information to solve computational problems.
And so, like, this was like their first go for it that they hit 134.
No, I mean they've been doing tons of balloon flights, hundreds of balloon flights.
Okay.
But again, this was a year ago. It was a year ago. If you talk to one of the biggest expert in the world, the guy that if he had a ton of money and he wanted to do a balloon project, he would tell you it's impossible. Not just that it was impossible, and he's done some amazing feats, by the way. I don't want to pair Lindstrad. I mean, he's done some really incredible things. He's done that, but when he says it's impossible, just ask the scientific community.
Wow.
I think this is just kind of one of those lessons, right? Where doesn't it always benefit you to just say highly improbable, and then when somebody else does something, be like, oh my God, look how much I'm into what they're doing now. I said it was highly improbable, and that quantifies how amazing their achievement has
It's
been.
like you would learn to use phrases like it's unprecedented to do blank, or but then again, maybe you're the guy who realizes that there ain't no money in unprecedented or unlikely, that the money's all in impossible. So you're just the guy who says impossible, knowing that they'll hopefully break
John
it.
Impossible.
Yeah, John Impossible.
I can only guess motivations, but I think that we get into a difference between when we use the terms impossible, meaning like laws of physics. Like if they said we're going to build a time machine, I would say you're pretty comfortable saying impossible. If you're building faster than light, information transmission, I would say totally feel free to say impossible, because there are every observable experiment we can says that ain't going to happen. Our framework, you could be wrong, but I would use impossible hesitantly. But there are cases where I would probably use impossible. But when it comes to materials technology, when it comes to things like that, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that about AI and other things, teleportation even.
I guess it just feels like, somebody put out a picture on Twitter of like a still frame from the Nickelodeon series Clarissa Explains It All, where they're dressed like very 90s. And the caption was, I used to think, man, it's really weird that the 70s and 80s people dressed so crazy and we just dressed normal, like in the 90s. And I just kind of feel like, there's like a momentum to culture. There's a momentum to science and technology that's hard for us. We always think like, well, we've arrived at this plateau of understanding, when it seems like for the last 100 years ago, we look like idiots compared to now.
Sure.
And the evidence would seem to point that we will look like idiots compared to where we are 100 years from now.
I'll tell you though, certain things will be the same. Like right now, like if you took a frame grab of how we're dressed, Justin could be in just about any decade since the 60s.
Sure.
Basically. Yeah.
You know, people might wonder about maybe Brian's glasses and hat.
Yeah.
But
And also my budding, slightly mulletish back hair. Like my hair's finally gotten long enough at the back that I got a little party going on back here.
I mean, they'll recognize, you know, the flag of all nations on your shirt.
That's right. The
know,
Diamond Club symbol, yeah.
That'll be common. You know, maybe the stupid big microphones in front of our faces might at some point seem archaic.
Likely.
Good video quality, too. But yeah, when it comes to fashion, like it's hard to know. Like some things kind of like stay static. Some things kind of change a lot. So, but yeah, it is that changing the paradigm, thinking like what's beyond, where can we go, what will be different. And what I love is Google said, hey, let's do this thing. They had the money to go do it. It would have been hard, really, really, really hard. You know, if you were within NASA trying to get funding to try to launch this project or to do this thing, because it's just, they've done high altitude stuff for certain kinds of areas of research. But if, you know, beyond that, there's not a lot you could do. You know, I think that's cool. I salute that. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see the potential. It's a crazy, weird idea. Let's use balloons for internet.
Well, how much do you think it like the part that bums me out, and I wonder if this is a lot of other people are in the same boat, where it's like when you hear a solution like Project Loon, the ongoing usable nature of it bums you out. Like I think there's some part of us that just wants to believe that a solution can be permanent, like a structure. When you build a tower in your imagination, you could picture that tower working forever with no maintenance costs. And it's like, it's built, it's solved. Now that's a thing we have. Whereas a solution like the balloons, you know that that's an ongoing commitment. You're going to have to keep putting them up. You're going to have to keep administering.
That's a myth that anything else is. Like if you lay fiber optic cable, you have to have a certain amount of expenditures to maintain and keep the thing going.
Right.
There's going to be costs to do that. And if you figure out what your costs are, if you lay fiber optic, let's say across Austin, what your costs are after that's in place for regular maintenance, regular line inspection, all these stuff, they add up. And it may be a higher cost than putting a balloon up there. I get what you're saying. You want to have that create it, forget it.
Well, and I'm very aware that it's a fantasy, and I think it's an inherent bias that we all have. Like that's why, you know, when we think of in terms of like, we want to believe like in windmills as you build it once and it makes wind energy forever, you know, and it's like, that's not the way it works. And it's the same thing for data flow, where it's like, we want to believe that this is an infrastructure that's just, you know, whatever else happens, we got that megabits thing worked out for this area. And a more objectively temporary solution, something that implies that there's going to be more and more work to be done on it, just somehow feels less satisfying and makes it. It doesn't make it not the right, you know, economic decision. It just like at some basic artistic level feels less. I don't know, satisfying.
I think that's why people have been resistant towards ideas like this, because you know the fantasy of we put this infrastructure in there and then it always works, and you've put it away and you forget about it, you know, is a fantasy. And I think the more we think about like, oh no, let's have this really cool idea that'll work for the next 10 years, and then at that point, you know, we're going to use the SpaceX microsatellite array or whatever. And I think that's the often we talk. This is a thing on the shows. We'll talk about the really cool far out thing. But there's often this really awesome thing we could do right now with just improving subtle things.
Yeah.
Later this week, hopefully SpaceX will try to take what looks like a conventional rocket and land it back on the ground. And it's not this scramjet, really amazing exotic rocket engine or whatever. It's, you know, you can buy a $500 drone that is an amazing piece of technology and can balance itself, et cetera. How do we apply it elsewhere?
By the way, Carl in the chat rightly points out that it's all fine and good to have antennas until a squirrel fills them with acorns. And he linked us to this video from AP Sparky on YouTube. Have you ever seen this before?
No.
How many freaking acorns? We're looking at thousands and thousands of acorns hidden inside this industrial microwave antenna.
Like, if they had designed this antenna as an acorn silo, there would not be more acorns pouring out of this thing.
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, again, it's a bias. It's an unfair bias, and it's not a helpful bias, but it is a bias that I think a lot of us have.
Do bats like acorns?
Do bats like acorns?
They're gonna bring the loon. The loons keep sinking because bats start stowing things on them. Now I'm gonna change tack. We're gonna go into another little topic, which is kind of cool. I think it's cool. So, on board, the USA wants to test this on board the I believe the International Space Station, and what it is, it's a robotic hand, right?
Right.
That would be looks like a kind of a really cool art model of the human hand, and you put it. Imagine if you put this on the International Space Station.
Okay.
And on the Earth side, you had a glove you slid your hand into that you could control the hand from. And you could get haptic feedback from that hand.
So this is like an external appendage to the International Space Station, which, by the way, didn't they announce a big name change? They proclaimed it was going to be called Alpha, and the whole world was like, lame, and nobody's called it Space Station Alpha since. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
you don't remember that? Space Station Alpha. I'm gonna Google it for you. I can't believe I'm the only one who.
So Justin, what they're doing is they want to build a robotic hand that would go on board it, and then on Earth you'd put your hand into a glove and you could control this thing, which has practical implications because then you could conduct experiments while being on Earth and yet control some sort of robot avatar on the space station and have the sensation that you were there.
So all right. So is this right now being looked at as just ways that we could maybe we could put a lot of stuff up in space and have people conduct experiments, so it's not just the astronauts and we're not just limited by how much the astronauts that are up there can do?
Absolutely. Now, one of the things when you put astronauts up in space, like their duty cycle is really not, I think they're good for like 3 or 4 hours a day that you can get like practical sort of work out of them before the fatigue and everything else weighs in on them, and it makes it, people get sloppy, they get space crazy. So you have this problem of it's great to put people up there, but you have a limited work cycle. Yet if you have a really cool you have a really cool robot that's controlled from the ground where you can put this, put on the Oculus Rift, put your hands into the gloves, and you can go in there and do your little experiments. It's a great way for you to be working in space, but being on Earth.
Wow. So, I mean, I guess that really is kind of the best of both worlds whenever we talk about the difference between manned space exploration and robot space exploration, that, this is using what we have charted out in humanity to set up as only kind of we can, and then harnessing the manpower of Earth by way of this technology.
Yeah, I mean, this is great for low Earth orbit because the delay would not be noticeable. Beyond that, when you start talking about even like dealing with something on the moon, trying to control it like that would be a pain.
Well, and that was my question, was like, how big of a lag are we looking at? Because even when it comes to, especially in a kind of tactile, experience, a 200 to 400 millisecond lag is noticeable. Like even when you're playing a first-person shooter game, I got to imagine. I mean, maybe you could have control without lag, like for the brief moments it's right overhead, but once it's on the far side of the planet, you got to be looking at like a half second of lag, right?
No, you're not. You're going to be at other side of the planet, assuming if you're going around. Light travels 186,000 miles per second. The furthest distance you're going to be at any given point, assuming good connections, is going to be 11,000 miles. So you figure out like the distance it takes from your signal to go from your brain to the extent of your hand. It could be the difference between being 5 foot tall and 6 foot tall.
Okay, all right.
I'm making that part up, but it'd be like if you look at like nerve conduction rate.
Yeah, no, well, and I understand in theory all of that should be short enough by the speed of light and so on. But it's like I guess I'm thinking just in terms from gameplay. When you're up against a server, you're playing, I don't know, Counter-Strike or whatever because it's 2004, and you got somebody from Singapore, you're going to have upwards of a half second to a second of lag, 1,000 milliseconds. But
again, you're
internet.
two players trying to go and trying to sync these things back and forth too. And I get, and that's also, what's going to be is how big difference would this sensation be than putting your hand into a thick glove,
Right? By the way, if you Google Space Station Alpha, you'll find a number of references, like people just calling the International Space Station Alpha. Like, for whatever reason, I remember it being a big announcement back in the day, and then it just didn't take. Like, nobody calls it Space Station Alpha, and it's like somebody made up a badass nickname for themselves, and then none of their friends called them by that.
Yeah, I'd never heard that.
Breath now.
Yeah, I'm Wolf Breath. Hey man, don't call me Jones. I'm Wolf Breath.
So anyhow, point is, for low Earth orbit, probably this is a practical kind of experience kind of thing, and you get a sensation that, look what I'm doing these experiments, I'm doing that sort of thing. So now you have telepresence for space travel.
Man, I'll tell you what, that telepresence thing is going to fundamentally alter our perception of what it means and the usefulness of actually sending astronauts anywhere, because on the face of it, actually sending human beings to dangerous places is dumb. It's dumb, it's wasteful, it's expensive, and it doesn't get us anything more than the feel-good experience of oh, we moved our meat from A to B or whatever. Like,
I'm going to disagree with you on that.
I'm telling you this much. Okay. However awesome it feels.
Historically had a disagreement on this.
However awesome it feels to imagine a person setting foot on Mars, you could get 90% of that awesomeness at 40% the cost by having a human in orbit around Mars, wearing a robot suit that gives him the haptic feeling of stepping on Mars. Like, I don't understand the belief that we need to physically move our stupid meat anywhere. Our meat is stupid, and it's not like our meat's going to explore the universe. It's going to be our children. It's going to be our robotic children that do it.
Yeah, whatever Michael Meaton from Batman and Beetlejuice.
So we would not have gotten the information we got out of the Apollo mission if it had been completely unmanned.
Yes and no. I mean, yes at the time. I mean, yeah, there will be a loss of fidelity. However, if it had been unmanned, we could have done 10 Apollo missions for the same cost. So it's not a fair thing to say we wouldn't have gotten the same information out, because that's not what we would have had. More resources to do more missions if we hadn't bothered to spend stupid humans.
But I would say that technologically speaking, given at that time, to be able to send people out there, give guys little rock hammers, go in there and kind of do the stuff they did. The technology was not. I mean, when you were dealing with, when the entire Apollo spacecraft had, a calculator basically for a brain, you were not going to be able to do the level of sort of investigation, looking for rocks, doing that kind of stuff in the time span or whatever that you did without human astronauts.
That's correct, but you could do 10 times as many missions without the bizarre restrictions of sending.
Able to, let's say, split open a rock or get to the good stuff. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you could still have this sort of surface thing, but you were never going to be able to get these certain kinds of things of having a physical body that's present, that's capable of doing certain physical things there.
I mean, you could make a case for that in the 1960s. I don't think you can make a case for it nowadays.
So I'll give you. We'll move that up to the case. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate all over the place. I'm a big believer in robot exploration, but I will say, like, if I were to take the counterpoint,
don't qualify this nerd fight. We're putting out our inhalers and we are going palms out.
you take the Mars rover thing because of the delay, because of the lag. We see an interesting rock. It takes us, we have to plan a mission to go inspect a rock over like a week.
Sure, but when you have 10 different sites running simultaneously, because you're able to free up so much budget, because you're not worried about the difficulties of moving a highly sensitive chemosynthetic bag of water from point A to point B. Then you can afford to be like, hey, that's an interesting rock. We'll get to that in 2 months. Here's another interesting rock, and there's 12 more interesting rocks because we diversified and we have robots doing the job.
But again, the point is that you're increasing the number of people you have, trying to overcome this. But if you can figure out how to safely, reasonably. If you figured out how to just put a body on Mars, then you have this thing that knows how to use all the tools we know how to use and go through a bunch of different stuff. You can get a lot of different kinds of science done. Eventually, robotics will get to the point where that would seem, you'd seem like, no, we'll just send a robot. I totally believe we'll get to that point. But right now you can't. I can't even get a robot to wash my goddamn dishes.
I mean,
you robots.
You say that, and yet we've been using dishwashers for 40 years. I mean, and they've worked well enough. And granted,
Who loads it? I'm like, I mean,
Here, Brian, I think you've hit on the key element of that. It is well enough, and whether or not it is your argument, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the volume of well enough will get us to where we need to go faster than the risk and the price of a human that we could all agree might do a better job if it's there, but it will always be more dangerous. It will always come with human emotional complications. I mean, it's like, listen, how many Dragon capsules have we sent up that could carry a human? A bunch, right?
Sure.
How many humans have actually gone up with SpaceX? 0. Why? Because if one human dies, SpaceX is like totally sets themselves back years compared to if they have things go right. They got to make sure that every step is proven to be correct, and the biggest is humanity. So beyond even what that cost is, the idea that there is a ability to have work done through robotics before it would make sense to send a human is huge. However, I think I'm kind of on Andrew's side, where it's like, at the end of the day, that we are only as good as where humanity, with its own fist, puts an outpost. That is the mark of our exploration, is where we go. And that will always be the premium in my mind.
Yeah.
I like, if we're not working towards putting people on Mars at some point, I'm like, then trying to investigate Mars, in my point, is a waste of money.
Well, I mean, I'm in favor of moving our meat there eventually, but right now there are fundamental questions we need to answer about Mars, and the method of accumulating that information. If I am in charge of a budget and I could send 10 robotic missions to Mars to try to answer that question, or I could send one mission that is, all our eggs in one basket, and with the caveat that also we have to bring their meat back at the end of it. Like, I don't know that I would invest it that way.
And I would say at the present technology, I would agree. I
got a question about Mars.
Yeah.
Does it smell? Because if we're going to go up there, you ever you go on a real estate listing, you find a really nice house, you roll up on it, and you're like, oh my God, I'll buy this sight unseen. Next thing you know, it's next to a landfill. That smells like garbage. I'm going to live here the rest of my life?
Dude, or even worse, like you move in after you bought Mars, you're sitting there, and all of a sudden, 3 o'clock, giant train rolls by, and you're like, son of a bitch. There's a train rolling by every day at 3 p.m. Are you kidding me?
That? Robot gonna tell you about how it stinks like a bunch of fish made love to an egg? Huh?
So I had a neat conversation with somebody who was actually one of the original venture capitalists behind SpaceX. We're talking about space and stuff, and then he says, so when do you plan to go to space? I said, I don't.
Yeah, and he says, what are you, chicken?
I'm like, yeah.
And you're like, me and my G-Dogs, we're ready to go up now.
Yeah, like, and let me make it clear, like, just so people understand, like, I think the Mars One whole project is just ridiculous and silly and amateurish, and run by people who I don't even know if I'd go eat at their restaurant. When they watch their first video of like, oh, we want to go explore Mars, and like, well, we can't figure out how to get this chroma key to work, but look. It's like, listen, guys, that's adorable that you're excited. What's your plan to get there? We're going to hire SpaceX to take us there.
I mean,
how are you going to pay for it?
I'll tell you what, you laugh, but if SpaceX does what Bill Gates did for computing, in other words, make it easy, make it simple, make it ubiquitous.
Mars One ain't going to be their first passengers, I can tell you that.
But that's just it. It's like, you can roll their eyes. Like, imagine the same thing in the world of computing, where it's like, we want to make a virtual reality world. Do you know anything about computers? Like, no, we don't. You're like, do you know how to program? No, we don't. We expect that in the next 20 years, personal computing will be so ubiquitous and easy that we'll be able to make Second Life in the future. And you would laugh at them, but then they would have been right, because that's what happens.
I'd be like, look at all these other more credible people who are planning to do this and who've actually done the research.
I ain't in the business of bashing on the crazy dreamers, because too many of them have been our heroes on this podcast.
when the crazy dreamers like pay this application fee and we'll put you on the list to go there, and we're going to fill you with a little bit of false hope, I'm not so much into that. To me, that's like, hey guys,
My problem with Mars One is that it's not the goal. I can't personally cotton to the goal of congratulations, idealistic space fans. We want to make a reality show out of your suicide mission. So sign up so we can profit on the entertainment value of you dying on Mars.
I'm okay with 100% of everything I've heard with Mars One. I'm okay with the idealistic
dig a little
optimism.
deeper, Brian.
No. I mean, look. I mean, there's no shortage of reasons to deride them, but I'm not going to engage in that because I do believe that they mean it. I do believe they're trying for it, and I do believe they're going for it. And that, to me, is the beginning and the end of the conversation.
Brian's endorsement of Scientology.
I mean, it's look, man. If you believe in the free marketplace of ideas, you believe there's a place for the nut jobs. And yes, Mars One is definitely a set of nut jobs, and they're very likely wrong. However, they are participating in an engine that I believe benefits all of mankind. And in that regard, I'm glad they're playing the game.
I think they're exploiting people's enthusiasm for Mars. I think from what I've seen in the fact of like paying for this applications and charging people to do this sort of thing, I think it's exploiting. It's to me, it's does a disservice to, that, in my opinion, from what I've seen.
Justin?
I think everybody should go to patreon.com/weirdthings, where we never take advantage of you for this podcast. Everybody head on over there. We're it's how we're starting to
we're creeping up, man. We're beginning our inexorable march towards $1,000 an episode, which is what we need to make this a solvent operation that runs full steam all the time.
Well, and also it's like, listen, if you guys like this idea of us putting stuff in the ocean and in the air and exploring all sorts of crazy, wild stories that we talk about on this show that maybe, quote unquote, legitimate people don't want to spend their time on, well, we do. And we know you do too. And that's why, if you're down with that, head on over to Weird Things, the Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Things. And if you got some scratch, throw a couple bones our way.
Yeah.
So, to sum up, Super Pro Mars exploration. And I guess for me, it's like when I work for the JREF, you'd get all these proposals for like perpetual motion machines and things like that, and free energy devices and stuff. And you go like, well, the intent is there, and then you look at like, but these people. One, it's not going to work, but two, these people aren't going to be able to do it. And it's like I get my let's take somebody's dream and then go like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. I mean, being skeptical of them is not skeptical of the overall dream.
First of all, I totally get where you're coming from insofar as like, it's a big bummer. Agents who promise things that they may or may not be able to deliver. And but the world also, in just about every institution, has agents whose job is to promise things, and sometimes they can deliver, sometimes they can't. And
mine is the charging the application fee. Mine is like, hey, pay us because we're presenting to you. We're gonna be the credible way to get there. We're gonna charge you. We're gonna put a little. That's my issue. The agent that asks you to pay up front is a scam. The agent that asks you to says, pay me and I'll find this. These people are like, hey, here's an application fee that's as much as like $75 to apply for, let's be honest, a group that in likelihood never going to go off planet.
Yeah, but by that logic, then you got to be down on Tesla because they're charging $5,000 for the privilege of making it a list to maybe get a Tesla X when it comes out.
And if they don't deliver, you get your money back.
Well, okay, yeah, all right, that's a substantial difference. I don't know. I don't know where the line is, and I would understand it. I'd be on. You could probably convince me that Mars One is over the line in some regards, but I will say that in general, man, how do we get on Mars One? Because our original point of distinction was like I want more robots going to Mars because that's a more efficient return on investment for our money.
Over the line.
Mark it 0, dude.
So anybody give a
I get it.
poop about the
I
rules
was.
but
We
me?
brought it because for me to explain my enthusiasm of one area, but my skepticism of another. The idea that I'm pro space, but I also don't think that like right now, realistically, we know how to get there, how to do it, or whatever. So I'm like, let's keep sending robots right now. That's my thing, And I believe Elon Musk's, range of prediction more than anybody else's because.
Well, because quite frankly, he's batting 1,000 right now on his predictions of what he thinks he could do. Yeah.
Can somebody get a refund on a Mars One application? Has anybody tried to get a refund?
Oh, my God.
You know what? I talked to the wife. Turns out she's not down with me dying on Mars without the kids.
Oh,
so,
dude. Okay, right now, Weird Things listeners, if you don't want to sign up on our Patreon, you can make your contribution to the Weird Things experience by signing up for Mars One and then trying to get a refund. Start a blog, document the entire experience, and let us talk about it.
I guess my second crit is like how they want to fund it. Oh, we'll fund it like reality TV. Working in reality TV, I can tell you what the budgets are.
Yes, yes to reality television, but what if they're very aware that it's not reality television is the model, but instead the model is they're aware that they will have electrified the entire populace of the earth to pay attention to their blog, their Twitter, their blah 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 blah. Like if somebody genuinely today was leaving and becoming the first pilgrim to Mars to die there. The entire world is going to listen to everything they say, and that's a substantial marketable position to be in.
I think there's certainly a audience for that. I think there's an advertising opportunity for it. Would it be the $100 billion that the current estimate for a mission there would be? Not. I'm going to present to you two proposals, Brian.
Okay.
Proposal one. Do you want to put $1,000 into SpaceX's Mars exploration program?
Yeah, all right.
Proposal two, Mars One.
Well, and again, I don't know how I got into the position of defending Mars One, but I disagree.
You're behind it all, Brian. It's yours, isn't it?
I disagree with Mars One's ability to pull through with it. However, I wholeheartedly support they're going for that brass ring. That's where I'm at right now. Like, I personally would not back it. I would not invest in it. I would probably say it's a fool's errand and a bad game. However, I would absolutely high five them for going for it. That's where I'm at.
I high five the enthusiasm too. I think there might be better ways that could be less. In certain areas of research, it's hard to raise money because you've had people go out there who did not know what they were doing and then blow a bunch of investor capital. And then you go in there and then you've got to clean up or explain away what happened before. No, we're not those people. And that is a concern. That being said, and I may be totally wrong, and Mars One has my complete apologies for the sincerity of whatever they're doing. I could be totally off base on that. So let me make that very clear.
I mean, I guess your case is
wearing a scams uniform.
Okay.
I don't think it's a scam. I think it's just not thought through.
Well, there's certainly nut jobs, right? But to me, like, that is the part of the healthy progression in any fringe frontier is that there's always scammers trying to overhype stuff. We saw it in the American West. We saw it in China. We saw it, with any other place. And to me, it's like the mere fact, like, oh, good, the scammers are here. Everything's going according to schedule. Yes, it's part of this game.
Before we get penicillin, somebody has to sell snake oil.
Yes, that's exactly where I'm at. And
so my
no
thing is,
problem with
I remember, it's like when we were working in the skeptic world, you talk about somebody walks in there and shows you this piece of paper, and on it is a drawing of some elaborate machine, and you go, "What is it?" It's a perpetual motion machine. All right, I'll hear you out. Can you build it? Oh no, this is it.
Yeah. Well,
wait, the thing on the paper is? Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, look, there's going to be nut jobs no matter what. I'm just glad that the nut jobs are finally, let me put it this way. The nut jobs tend to conglomerate right around where the next big frontier is. And if the nut jobs are gathering, I'm thrilled because it means, guess what?
Pan Am was selling tickets to the moon back in the 60s. How'd that pan out?
Well, we went to the moon. Like,
Did Pan Am take us there?
No, but
Did
we
those
went.
tickets pan out?
We went to the moon within a decade of
Probably
those
would have
tickets
had
being
some
sold.
sexier stewardesses than NASA provided.
True that.
Sausage fest.
Gentlemen, I'm going to propose to you the question, taking this a step further. I'm just looking up, by the way, the Pan Am moon flight thing to find out when did they offer those.
Let's see, Pan Am tickets
If you just type in tickets, it pops up with a.
Here you go. There's an article from backstoryradio.org, Pan Am and the waiting list for the moon. Says here it's Christmas Eve 1968, and people had set foot on the moon. Oh my God! First moon flights club, Flights Club.
$20 deposit.
First rule of Flights Club is you don't talk about Flights Club. Fares are not fully resolved and may be out of this world. Wow.
In August 1964, Pan Am accepted the reservation of Gerhard Pistor, journalist from Vienna, Austria, as the #1 for future flights to the moon. He paid a deposit of $20. About 93,000 people followed on the Pan Am waiting list, called First Moon Flights Club.
I mean, so your point is they're dumb for having tried it, or people are dumb for having given them money, or what?
My point is that there's almost $2 million went to a company that was not doing anything towards getting you towards the moon, and that company ain't taking people to Toledo now.
Yeah, but
What year was this?
1968, shortly after the first moon landing.
Shortly before, moon was 69.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's it.
So my point is that if it was like, hey, let's have a waiting list. No fee, just a waiting list. I'm cool with that.
People are saying, oh, it was only $20. $20 in 1968 is the equivalent of $136.46 in today's economy.
Yeah. Well, and then I mean, are you also gonna take a dump on the guys who are selling off real estate on the moon, or the guys who are doing the International Star Registry?
Yeah, I think that's shady.
All right. I mean, you could think that. I think that.
I do think that.
Okay. You can and do.
Brian, what is your? I mean, and I don't want to. This shouldn't be a pedantic back and forth. So just
Justin, that's our show.
Okay, I know, but we've kind of gone around this maypole a couple times, and believe you me, we don't want to burn this argument out because this has been about 15% of our show since the very, very beginning. Is this argument in specific? But Brian, your argument for this is that if they are selling it for what it would reasonably cost to keep clerical records of who would own what part of the moon and the stars, then that is at least worth some kind of money, even if it doesn't exactly translate into physical property rights.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And to be honest, like I think of it more in terms of if you ever play Sid Meier's Civilization, there's some not great aspects that come with different civilizations hitting different levels, for example, this isn't in the game Civilization, but like once you reach a certain level, slavery tends to show up in every single thing. Now, slavery is not a great thing. However, it is an indicator of the particular socioeconomic health of a civilization to reach the level where it achieves slavery is unlocked. Later on, same thing with like environmental waste. Once you get, while you're below $1,000 per year of every citizen per capita income, you tend to trash the air and the water. Then once you get above $1,000, then the society as a whole tends to spend money and get on there. To me, all of this stuff, all of this shady side stuff, the selling of stars or real estate on the moon or of one-way tickets to Mars or whatever, that is what happens. That's the opening unlock of a progression towards an interstellar or, intrasolar society. And then the door will close, much like with environmental trashing or with or with slavery. So it's like, yes, no, scammers aren't great, but it's great that we're at the point that we've attracted all the scammers. And then we're going to close the door on the scammers on the other side of this. I'm nothing but excited about all of this. We can get, we get bent out of shape about like, oh, those scammers. But it's like, there's always been scammers. There's always going to be scammers. To me, let's be more excited about the fact that we have hit the unlock of hitting a level of proximity to this, that it finally attracts scammers to try to make a buck off of it.
I guess for me, morally, as a person, is not as a person watching from the outside, but in this, if I see that I think that is a scam or suspicious, and I think morally I should point that out and say, hey, this is a scam. I think for me to...
Well, and Andrew, you come from a very specific, set of experiences on this.
I am a scam artist. That is true.
Where I know, for example, like Uri Geller, right? Uri Geller is somebody who has a very well-documented past for which you got a front row seat working with Randy, even though you were working with him after a lot of the heyday of the 70s and 80s had kind of come and gone. However, now as Uri Geller has moved on in life and now distances himself from some of the posturing that he had taken, back in the day, and wants to fashion himself a magician more now, appearing at magic conventions, accepting.
He still says it's real. He doesn't.
Says it's real. Okay, and I'm just saying that his outward. He is now more willing than he seemed to be in the past to let himself be understood as something while still maintaining that he is another thing. Some have come around to say, he's just keeping this kayfabe, but really he knows that he's a magician and we can just understand him as that. Where you've seen stuff and you've seen that there is just a moral point for which you say, no, you did some really shady stuff. You have not recanted and said that this stuff was shady. You still maintain that, amongst all the double talk that this is stuff that's real. I can't come around on this. I can't say that you are a different person. And I can't say that well, now he's just, semi-reforming or whatever. He still is this guy. And I think that that's what I'm seeing with where Brian's I totally understand. You're like, hey, look, there's a larger point to all of this. And, I can say in a vacuum, these guys might be screwed up, but I'm not going to let that bother me because the larger point bothers, the larger point is what matters to me. Andrew's like, no, but listen, we can agree that this larger stuff is happening and that's rad. But where's our moral center if we don't say, yeah, but that guy's also cheating you out of money because you're excited about it.
I mean, it's plus also, it's like historically, I mean, how much glee do we all get from reading quotes like nobody will need more than 640K of RAM, doing this would be impossible or whatever. It's like we have spent most of our adult life just skinny dipping in Schadenfreude for the proclamations of people about other people's ideas. And it's like, I don't know. Yes, I will be the first to admit that Mars One is highly unlikely to pay off. However, I don't know that they are beginning this venture with the intent of defrauding people. For all I know, they really do want to go, and they really.
I don't think it's an intent to defraud at all. I think that it's. Again, it's a very amateur way to do this. I think that my point is it's not an original idea. It's not an idea at all. There's not an original idea to them other than a way to try to capitalize on the enthusiasm is the only thing novel there.
I mean, that's fine. There was nothing original about the X Prize. It was clearly just a ripoff of the flight across the Atlantic
Brian,
Ocean.
They had the money and the wherewithal to back it up. They had the money to go out there and say, we will. If you do this, we will put this there. That's what I'm saying here is.
I mean,
these people have no technical skill.
They did by the time that they secured the money.
To try to do any real research into what they're doing, if it's like, no, this won't work. That's my problem. Is there's not even this. It is sold as a religious thing.
You're cherry picking because you're picking the end of their journey and saying they had the money, they had the backing. They didn't have the money when they started the idea. And if you read Abundance, it's clear that it's just a couple of guys on the side saying like, I bet we could get the money. money, and then they went around fishing for it. And likewise, that's exactly what the Mars One people are doing. And again, I'm not saying that they are as qualified or as smart an investment as the X Prize, but it's not a fair assessment to say they don't have, they don't have the backing, therefore they're frauds or whatever.
Brian, well, you're creating a straw man there. My point is that there are basic things you could say, like, what is the realistic way to go about doing this? Okay, we don't know. There were so many unanswered questions there. My first problem is the idea of paying the admission fee to go do this kind of thing. The business plan approach towards it, which to me, I will say, I think is extremely unrealistic and silly. That's my point.
I mean, maybe so, but I know this much. I'm not in the business of telling other people what they can and can't achieve. And yes, they have a ridiculous plan, but does that mean that they shouldn't go for it? No, I think they should go for it.
Do whatever they want.
And if anyone wants to throw $20 at it or whatever,
morally,
the admission
as a person
fee.
who follows this, if I'm asked to offer my opinion about this to other people, I will say, hey, I don't think this is the best way to go about it, because I take responsibility for that. I take responsibility when I have a position to offer a point of view on that. That's it. I care. I want people to know, like, hey, Mars is exciting. It's great. I don't think these people are going to get us there. And I think that it may be a hindrance in some way to the more support we give them. That's my moral position on that.
Right on. Fair enough.
Also, apparently the application fee for Mars One varies from $5 US to $75 US, depending on the relative wealth of the applicant's country.
That's actually pretty cool. Like if you come from Colombia, you're going to spend $5, but if you come from the United States, you'll spend $75.
I mean, I would assume that would be where it would.
There was a Time.com article talking about how international flights go for different amounts depending on where you're booking from, and they were able to book flight from like Bangkok to Cairo or I don't know, whatever it was. Like when they booked it from Colombia, they were able to get it for like half the cost, as long as they didn't mind doing the exchange rates in order to get there.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So you just go through a proxy and
right. And then you'll have to pay like the 3% fee for exchanging to whatever the Colombian unit of currency is.
News you can use.
Gentlemen, should we move to picks?
We should.
Hells yeah. Dude, I got mine. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same as yours, Andrew. Maybe we could get back to both agreeing at the same time, because I don't know how far you are into Peter F. Hamilton's The Abyss Beyond Dreams, but holy cow, it has me so stoked about the Commonwealth universe and the Commonwealth saga that it's like I'm seriously fighting the urge to go back and re-listen from the beginning to Pandora's Star. Out of all of them, I feel like Abyss Beyond Dreams gets right to the point, gets right to the action, sets up stuff, moves quickly, especially if you're already familiar with the universe. Love it. I am deeply in love with this fusion of science fiction and fantasy. Basically, it's a fantasy novel wrapped up in a hardcore science fiction novel where there exists an alien artifact, a universe within a universe that gives a reason for why stuff like telekinesis and ESP could be possible and why somebody would construct such a thing. Deeply loved it. It's only the first book in this new trilogy. I'm stoked. What about you?
I apologize profusely. I just want to give one thing, clarification about Mars One.
Okay, all right.
And that is, just sort of listeners who are not familiar, that the idea is it's a one-way mission. They send you there, and that's it. You have to live on Mars the rest of your life, and they have to keep resupplying you, et cetera. That is point of clarification. Just want to make that clear. It's not a return mission. It's we send you there and goodbye.
All right.
Brian, what was the name of the book again?
The Abyss Beyond Dreams. Abyss Beyond Dreams by Peter F. Hamilton.
And people have heard us talk about Judas Unchained and Pandora's Star.
Yeah, Pandora's Star, Judas Unchained, and the entire Void trilogy. I was surprised to hear that Andrew didn't finish the Void trilogy. I liked it quite a bit, but I guess it was a bit heady or a bit deep for you.
I don't know if it was a bit deep for me.
Or just tedious, I guess would be the word.
It's like listen, I love Peter of Hamilton. I mean, but sometimes the things just keep going on and on, and there are people who love those kind of world building stories, and that's and no fault of that. Like, that's a thing where I know what I like and what I don't like, and what I don't like other people might love, and
Right.
so the Dreaming Void just for me was a very, 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 very long book. I couldn't finish. Great Northern Road, same thing. But
I never finished. I did not finish The Great North Road, and I feel bad about that. Everything else he's written that I have finished.
Yeah, Pandora's Heart, Juice and Chain, love. And again, I through no fault of Peter of Hamilton, I'll put it that way. But sometimes these books just get to be so long that I'm like, nah, I kind of want a tighter narrative. But anyhow, I'm enjoying it very much so far. Very much enjoying this. But my pick is going to be something different.
What?
My pick is I've been fascinated lately by very, very, very short form content, by things that are not at all very long. Like I've been playing around with the Cartoon Network Anything app, which is kind of cool. It's basically 20 seconds or less content. And looking for other forms of content where you can get a story across in a very, very, very short amount of time, I came across a short film. And it's interesting because there's a couple versions of this short film, because somebody on Reddit, I guess was the earliest case, somebody said, hey, come up with a 2-sentence horror story, a 2-sentence horror story. And somebody suggested this, and there have been a couple versions of this, and then accusations that so-and-so ripped somebody off, or back and forth, or whatever. I don't know. But anyhow.
For 2 sentences. That's amazing.
But it's a poignant 2 sentences, though. So anyhow, I have a pick, and it's better that people just have the experience of watching it, and it's called Tuck Me In. If you type in, let me see if we just type in Tuck Me In.
I see a YouTube video.
Yep, that's it. So I don't want to spoil anything for here because the audio would totally ruin it, but it is the actual short film is 38 seconds. Have you seen this yet?
No, it looks like the entire video is a minute long on YouTube, so I assume there's credits at the end. As I'm talking right now, I'm 10 seconds in, and I am seeing it without audio. I don't know how.
No, Brian, start over. You're ruining it.
Okay, start it over, play the audio.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pause, tell everybody, don't pause right now. Pause right now.
Yeah.
Pause, seriously. Even if you're driving.
Press pause. All right.
Pull over, folks.
All right. Yeah, you want me to hit play on this?
No, I don't want you to play it on. I don't want you to play it on here. I want you just to watch it and then give your reaction, because I don't want to. Because there are people still listening.
Okay. Well, here you talk to.
I'm gonna talk.
I'm looking at the.
Bedtime, Alex.
Is the audio? The audio's playing
Wait,
too. Here.
am I supposed to watch it? What's the hell's going on?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're supposed to watch this thing. Can't you guys do anything?
Well, I don't know how to play it and not have the audio. I don't know how to play it with audio and not have them hear the audio.
Can you quiet? Does your audio go through your mic, or does
everything goes through the
audio
board.
through the board.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So what we're gonna do is, can we cut out this section from the final version?
I mean, here, if you want, I will watch it on my cell phone right now. How about that?
I'll watch it on my phone.
Okay, look, you.
No matter what, this is going to be really not interesting, like to listen to.
No. It's going to be great. Andrew's going to talk to you guys for a minute. Me and Justin are going to watch Tuck Me In. We're typing in Tuck Me in our cell phone browsers. And you have the floor, Andrew, for the next 38 seconds while Justin and I watch this.
So, different areas of content are fascinating. You have Twitter. You have 140 characters to try to communicate. It's worked effectively well. Instagram, send a photo, not just a selfie, what you're up to, what you've been doing. The idea that you get to express something with a large canvas is, of course, inviting. But the idea of trying to express something with a very, very short amount of time is really, really, really challenging. And that's what I love about this, what was accomplished with this little short film. Is you think about that. Can you tell a short story in under a minute? If you can do that, that's really poignant and that's gifted. That's a talent. And that's what I'm looking for more examples of. If you can find really cool content that's a minute or less that's like this, hit me up on Twitter. I want to know. I want to see this kind of thing. Now, Brian should be about finished.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude, I remember reading that line on Reddit. That really is a great two-line horror story. Very well executed on the video, definitely. Nobody say nothing. Just
Nobody say
everybody,
nothing.
just Google "tuck me in" and just watch it real quick. It's the best 38 seconds you'll spend today. Holy cow!
Was that worth it?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Worth it. It was good.
It's like, when you're telling people like, oh, hey, go check this thing out. Go check this thing. Like, man, yeah, like, oh, there's this guy who did a review of the Phantom Menace. It's almost as long as the Phantom Menace. Like, oh,
This is
come
38 seconds, man. You can afford it. Go for it.
And also, it's like, oh, how creepy can it get? And then it's like, oh, wait, this got really
Yeah, man. Good pick. Good pick. What about you,
It's
Justin?
also and I don't want to spoil any element of it, but you are kind of expecting there's a certain language, especially horror films, I've kind of mind on how to go from 0 to 60, and this does not use any of those tropes. It is all in the written word as presented in the visual language of film.
What I like is sort of the reaction we're seeing in a little chat section here, because now it's like that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. So I've been paying more attention to these like really super short, minute or less kind of film or sort of narratives, because it's hard. It's hard. And like I went to a page that was like 40 sentence horror stories, and they're almost all, but she was already dead.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost all that was the plot, like, but she already died, and it's like, okay, I get it.
Right.
Trying to go outside that zone, it's cool. So that's one of my dreams. Is I want to launch like a channel that's just like 30-second, like a minute or under content, like 30-second sort of content.
Dude, yeah. Well, or you could split it up, as they're suggesting in the chat room, into 10 6-second vines. You could make a mini series to build
why?
up. Because
Why? Step into my
You're
office.
that guy.
Fine.
You're doing it for the vine, Andrew. That's why.
That's awesome. What about you, Justin?
I'm calling my own number on this one. You can go ahead and get the Go Home Santa You're Drunk audiobook and ebook. It's available for the one-time only combo price of $5.99. You can buy it on PayPal or through the store if you go to gohomesanta.com. This one was a little late because I had to get music from Andrew Allen. And at first I'm like, man, this dude's taking a lot longer. And then I realized that the 3 new stories I wrote for this edition of the book are so long that they basically add double the audio length.
Wow.
That, the last one was. The previous 12 stories only added up to an hour and 22 minutes. This audiobook is 2 hours and 22 minutes because of basically 2 stories. One of them's really not all that long. So the 2 new things are sizable. So if you bought it before, then this will hopefully be worth your scratch, and otherwise it's $5.99. So, really, what can
dude, I'll tell you what, man, I absolutely adored everything I heard from the version that came out last year, and if it's anything close to it, I'm 100% in. I'm actually buying it right this very minute.
That's probably sucks. So, buddy, lower your expectations.
What are you, Mars 1? Come on, man.
I'm scamming you. I'm worse. I'm worse than Mars 1. I'm going to sell you a bag of dog poop, and then you're going to be like, where did this dog poop come from? And then Brian's going to get really excited about the coming boom in dog poop, and Andrew's going to admonish him.
Hold on. All right, keep talking because I am totally buying all this.
I'm buying it now. If you click below, you can find the payload saying to use PayPal.
Crap, I probably should have done that, but I'm already halfway through this. So take it away, Justin.
All right. The buy and download button's not working for me here. Anyhow, Go Home Santa You're Drunk. Highly recommend it. The stories are fantastic, and I can't wait to hear the new ones. I've been waiting for the audiobook because to hear Justin's voice tell them, for me, is my favorite way of listening to anything and everything. So, by the way, my pick is Go Home Santa You're Drunk, the 38-second film. Tuck Me In was just a thing I'm going to throw out there. So, there you
All right,
go.
I just bought it. There it is.
How did you buy it? Did you buy it?
I did a credit card.
Oh, there is a thing that's it's weird if you're trying to buy it on PayPal on some browsers for whatever reason because of the name server thing, you just got to take that link on the payloads page and just copy and paste that into the URL and
Okay.
it'll let you buy it.
All right. Gentlemen, it's been weird.
Damn right. There we go. Dude, good episode.
Yes, it was spirited.
I feel like we've gotten better at having our discussions without letting them escalate out of control.
Well, then you might not want to read the email I wrote you, Brian.
Oh, no! What do we want to call this?
Let's see. Mars is for Loons.
Somebody had a name.
Jesus Christ. All right. We're not recording now, right?
Not on the official audio, but we're still streaming.
All right.
So
Just our friends here. Justin, we got to this. I can't buy this thing. How do I buy this thing using PayPal?
You can go to the thing. If you have a problem,
go to the
I
thing.
click PayPal.
There's
I go
some
to
on the web
payloads.
zone.
I click Go Home Santa. I click Buy and Download. Nothing. Nothing happens. All right. I'll go use my credit card finally. If you're that hostile towards customers.
hold on, ma'am. I'm giving you the thing.
Why isn't the thing there?
Oh wait, no, you're not gonna get the.
Prosumer science. It was early on. I can't find the actual quote. All right. Does Mars smell? You just want to call it that?
I thought Mars is for Loons.
All right. Mars is
Just a suggestion, so.
for.
Yeah, check your email, Andrew.
I'm just going through the credit card thing now.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez.
Oh God. Oh jeez. Oh lordy. Oh jeez.
Oh jeez.
Uh,
Jeez Louise.
Did we ever talk about the guy who claimed to be flying into Area 51 on the Art Bell show back in the day? Did I ever play that for you guys?
No.
Guy flies into Area 51 on Art Bell. Yeah, here we go. It's so amazing.
Usually flies around 140 to 160 indicated airspeed. I'm right now at 7,000 feet. You know where this place called Indian Springs is?
Indian Springs, yes.
Yeah. Well, I've been flying now for about 49 minutes here between Beatty, is that what you call it, and Indian Springs. And I figure I'd just go on up here and try to get into this Area 51. I'm right south of this Nevada test site, or Nellis Air Force Base. And I'm right outside this restricted zone.
Listen to me. When you fly into that zone,
Yeah.
they are going to either force you down or shoot you down. Don't you know that?
Well, you know, I've been in a lot of Air Force bases, and I've been in the Air Force for many years. I'm an ex-Air Force, but I'm just going to tell you that, you know, as American citizens, we have the right to know what's up there in this Area 51. And I've been listening to you boys talk about this. Hold on here, I'm making a turn, and just a second here. And I'm going to go on up there and see what's going on. And I just wanted to let you know about that before I do that, don't you know?
How long do you estimate it's going to be before you
I figure about 12, 14 minutes. I can crank this baby up a little bit here. Let's do that. Let's crank this thing on up. We got some pretty good mountains here off to my west, don't you know? I'm turning up north right now, and I can see the Air Force base out there in the distance. It's got 3 runways. It looks like they're all lit up. And A-shaped. It's like north-south. Got a lot of desert up here, don't you, boys?
a lot of desert? Yes.
A lot of desert.
Now you're liable to get yourself killed.
I'm sorry, sir, you have to speak so loud. I cranked this engine all the way up here.
I I said you're liable to get yourself killed.
Well, we'll get up there in a few minutes, yeah, and we're just going to see what's going to happen, because this is I've got Red Crosses painted on this baby, and I got hospital on it, see? And maybe they're going to think that I'm on some kind of a mercy flight and I'm just off course. And I've got the radios cut off, so you can have radio failure, don't you know? And so I'm going to hold this thing steady here about around 65, 6,800 feet.
Why are you doing this? Why are you
I'm
doing
going to
this?
get to the bottom of this. I'm a American. My family has been American for years, and I want to get down in here.
My family's been American for years.
All right, then why are you doing it at night?
Because that's the best way to get in here.
But even if you manage to overfly the area, what
I'm
do
in
you...
the restricted zone. I just entered the restricted zone. I see a bunch of lights out there. Looks like some kind of a searchlight coming on.
You're in the restricted zone now?
I just crossed that restricted zone. I'm going to drop this thing down.
I'm telling you, you're going to get shot down.
Hold on here now. I got my pressure suit on. I don't really need one of this kind of aircraft. It's not like a jet, but it helps to, when I make some tight turns here. And I'm going to cut down here. Now, let's see what these boys are going to do. I don't see anybody coming up here yet. I just see a bunch of lights. But I'm pretty far from that Area 54, and I'd figure about another 8-9 minutes here. And it's hard to calculate it right now, trying to...
all right, guys, I got to do the jury podcast at 4, so...
All right. You're going to miss... let me scoot forward to what you're going to miss.
I got on this thing's built out of afterburners on.
All right, bye, Justin.
About 5 miles out.
Bye.
That old boy is cranking. Yes, sir. And I see something opening up here on the ground. It's I'm pretty low now. I'm starting to pick up all kind of buildings down here. I see something here is level with the ground, and they're opening this thing up. There looks like something's coming up out of that. I can't tell you what it is. It must be on some kind of a. Hold on here. I gotta make this turn.
All right.
I think this old boy's gonna head up here for me.
I love the
I
sound
wouldn't be
effect.
surprised.
You know, like it's
Yeah.
Right directly, because he's in the F-16.
I'm kind of sad listening to it now with my more jaded personality, where it's like, why would a air raid siren, either it's appearing on his radio, in which case, how is he talking, or it's appearing down below, in which case, why is it at a consistent sound level?
He's coming to hold on here.
I would advise you to turn your...
We get to...
I would advise you to turn on your radio.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. We can do this now. Come on here. Hold on. This old boy's coming up here. Now, he's got his lights. He's got his lights on, and he's flashing me.
We went into this knowing this is fake, right, Brian?
Yeah.
No radio. No radio. No radio. He don't know that.
Well, if I were you, I'd turn it on.
Folks are listening to Art Bell, because everybody listens to Art Bell.
Well, maybe if you're making...
I gotta get some air.
You're making a bad calculation, because if they're not listening, you're going to be shot down.
I don't know what he's going to do here. He's rocking his wings at me right now. He's rocking his wings, and he's cutting in front of me. And you know this, oh, don't cut in front of me now, because if he cuts that close, stay off. Stay off. He can hear the vortex from his engine, from Pratt & Whitney engine. We're going to, just like twin tornadoes, if he gets too close, stay off, bro. Hold on there. I'm getting down on the deck. I'm going in. I'm getting down there. He ain't going to get me. I'm that damn veteran. He ain't going to get me there. They didn't get me over there. They're not going to get me over here now. Looks like some kind of rail gun coming up out of that elevator, that flat area over there that the doors opened up. It's got some kind of a weird-looking barrel on it with a light. And, oh, hell, they're doing something. They're shooting at me now. Oh, God. No, baby, I'm going in. I think I'm going in.
Huh. Well, I'm not sure what we just heard. All I can tell you is I got a fax that read, Art, answer the wildcard line. My boyfriend is in a small plane north of Las Vegas and ready to fly into Area 51. He's been trying to call you by cell phone. I withheld the signature at the bottom of the fax so I could be sure that if I did get the person, I could verify it. Indeed, it was signed by Jill.
Wow, man. It's funny because I heard that live on the air. I just happened to be listening at the time, and so did my brother, which I guess is the intended effect. I mean, it's like there's no doubt this is some War of the Worlds theatrical radio play happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm trying to, if I was listening to this back then, well, one, like Art Bell, like I was working for the JRF back then too.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to think, like, I mean, I don't know at what point I would have. I mean, from the get-go, I'm thinking like, oh, well, we know this is fake, right? And then I'm trying to think, what would my skepticism have been back then? Would I immediately been known like, oh no, this is bogus? Part of it depends upon who tells you this. If it's your idiot friend who tells you, oh my God, check this out, Art Bell are doing this, I'm like, well, you're an idiot. If it's my smart friend.
Well, but here's the genius, right? Is that Art Bell puts this layer between what's happening now and what might be. He says, I don't know if what we heard is a genuine tragedy that just happened or what. All I know is I got this fax and I called this guy. So there's like a hint that he is acknowledging that maybe this is a put up by somebody. But meanwhile, I mean, I guarantee you this whole thing was orchestrated out and planned out in advance. I don't know. I assume within the Art Bell team, maybe not.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he's Art Bell's not. There's no. Again, he's a guy that made his career by never interjecting any amount of skepticism into any kind of good story. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, my assumption is just a plain bit, from the get go with Bell understanding that.
Yeah. Pretty good, man. All right. I guess we'll shut down the feed. That was a really good discussion.
Do you remember when like it was the American kid landed a parent plane in Red Square?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it Red Square? What year was that happened? Matthew Rust. And that's an interesting story too.
Matthias Rust. Yeah.
German aviator. What am I saying?
Matthias Rust takes a walk along a remainder of the Berlin Wall in what was once known as the Death Strip. At a time when the Berlin police some time to come, Rust says he was extremely nervous during the landing, but the Muscovites made him feel welcome.
The mood there was carefree. I was lucky that a 15 or 16-year-old boy was there who spoke some English so I could communicate. And they asked me where I'd come from. I said, from Germany. They thought I meant the East. When I said West Germany, they were surprised. I said I'd done it for peace, and I wanted to speak to Gorbachev and build an imaginary bridge between East and West.
But what would cause a 19-year-old to do such a thing? Rust said he was inspired by a German comic book series featuring a space-traveling hero called Perry Roden. Instead of a spaceship, he had his plane. He wanted to save the world because, in his opinion, U.S. President Ronald Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev couldn't manage it. When their disarmament summit in Reykjavik failed to achieve results, Rust felt obliged to act. He flew from Iceland via Helsinki to the Soviet Union, right through the Iron Curtain.
He decided to act by penetrating the Soviet defenses and
showing
how healthy they were.
The coverage left out the fact that Soviet air defense had tracked the flight without stopping it. In the middle of the Cold War, the landing was highly provocative.
I can't believe that they let them land.
It gave us a shock, because it was a German, and he'd violated Soviet airspace, broken laws and international regulations. It could have turned into a bilateral crisis. Then there was a trial. That was unpleasant.
In the end, diplomacy won out. Rust received a moderate sentence in Soviet terms, 4 years in a labor camp. It was obvious that he wasn't any threat.
I'm neither a spy, nor a businessman, nor an adventurer. I came here, or rather I flew here, for my own private reasons.
Wolfgang Akunov acted as Rust's interpreter in court. It was the most spectacular case of his career.
Right from the start, it resembled a show trial. It was semi-serious. My impression of Rust was that he was a young man who knew that he wasn't facing any really serious punishment.
Rust was never transferred to a labor camp. After 14 months in a Moscow prison, he was pardoned and allowed to return to Germany. Mikhail Gorbachev used the military's failure to prevent Rust's landing as an excuse to fire senior officials opposed to his reforms. They included the defense minister and numerous generals. Today, Rust claims part of the credit.
That was what motivated me. I wanted to help strengthen his position. I feared that if he didn't have a foreign policy success in the near future, his opponents would drive him out of office. That would have meant that Germany would never have been reunited.
Sir, I have to run.
All right.
Many
Yeah,
observers
no.
would dismiss those claims.
Thank you for this blast from the past. Good seeing you, man. Good show.
Likewise. Bye.
Bye, 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 bye. And I guess I'll say goodbye to you, fine people on the stream, because it's time to go. So long, beautiful people. See you tomorrow, Captain. What?